the legendary Texas Rangers vintage photos. Did you know that the first members of Texas Rangers were all part-time employees? Still, they became the most feared and legendary group on the Mexican border. But how? So check this out and pay attention, since after watching this video, you'll discover more about it. Without further ado, let's get started. When Texas fought for its independence, the Rangers served as scouts and couriers, and then they found themselves engaged in several skirmishes against natives. It was only after a law was passed that the Rangers, under the supervision of Captain Jack Hayes, were commissioned to protect the Texas frontier. Then, a legislature was passed in which the Rangers became deeply involved. Years went by. They became a state partner in investigating crimes and corruption. They kept the peace, protected politicians, and functioned as military forces. Then they turned into highly trained members of the Texas Investigation Division. Texas Rangers was established as a casual group of armed individuals protecting Texians. They were responsible for shielding the place against raids and were overall responsible for public safety. Although they had no proper training and regular supervision, they still got recognized as a formal agency. Later down the road, they also got their first appointed Ranger Major a decade later. Before continuing, we would really appreciate a like to this video. If you also want to see similar content in the future, consider subscribing and activating the notification bell. Finally, Texas became a part of the US, so the Rangers were designated as the state police. They kept the peace, hunted outlaws, and acted more like a posse. Their appointment as new law enforcers marked the start of their legend. Texas was once ravaged by outlaws, terrorizing the frontier along the Rio Grande, so the Texas Rangers were chosen as new troops to strategically defend the state and were known as the Frontier Battalion. They fought against the continuous waves of cattle rustling near the Mexican border. However, criticisms and bad rumors were thrown at them, which sadly caused some of the Rangers to leave the group one by one. Eventually, the Frontier Battalion had started to decline, and later on was abolished. Soon, the Texas Rangers' activities with fewer members were returned back again as local law enforcers. So, when the Great Depression started, the Rangers were one of those that got badly affected. At that time, their salaries were cut, and some even got fired. And without the protection of the Rangers, Texas was then swarmed by crimes. From Texas up to the Mexican border, it became the haven for outlaws again. And if you thought that the Texas Rangers were special, of course they were. But just like everyone, there were also times when they put away their guns. Then, along with other members, they would find the time to relax and enjoy dining together. Well, they were also known as Los Diablos Tejanos, or the Texan Devils, where they were feared for having executed at least 300 suspected criminals by hanging, all without any form of trial. And with the ongoing tension between Texians and Mexicans, violence was hard to put a leash on, so the increasing tension exploded into all-out skirmishes, where some had been brutally executed by being dragged on the road by Rangers with their horses. You have discovered the amazing vintage photo collection of the legendary Texas Rangers. So click this and discover another amazing story about the real cause of the Mexican-American War.